Sounds good.
And we are live. Hello, everybody. I'm Grim.
I
And
am Hero, and we have a special guest.
yeah,
Special
Jack.
guest would be me, One-Eyed Jack at One-Eyed Jack Gaming on YouTube and on Gab.
And
Mhm.
I have a link to Jack's channel in the description of the stream. So if you enjoy his isms, then you might consider watching his channel as well.
Thank you for that.
In any case, uh, Elden Ring.
It sure is a game that exists.
Yeah, it is. Uh, we had a brief discussion about this before we started streaming, but give me a sec.
No problem.
But we have been, we've been talking and stuff about a whole bunch of other subjects as well, and we've been saving off. We have a little bit to talk about with Elden Ring. So in any case, let's skip. I think we've done enough preamble, and let's just get into it.
Yeah. So, Jack, you would
Sounds
like to
good.
start?
Would you like me to start? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Should turn you guys up. My premise is basically I have kind of both feet planted firmly on both sides of the fence here, so to speak. I would prefer, it would be nice if Elden Ring and games and Souls games in general were to have difficulty options available, but I also understand Miyazaki's vision for games like Elden Ring, and so I don't really I'm not exactly opposed to him sticking to his guns and asserting that these types of games don't need difficulty. And besides, with the advent of modding, everybody kind of gets what they want anyway, right? You can download a mod and get the easy mode that you want. Miyazaki still gets what he wants with the game, with his vision. So I think everybody's kind of happy.
Hmm. I'd say I agree with that sentiment.
I agree too.
Very good.
But on this discussion, I brought up earlier the matter of something along the lines of, I'd only be okay with difficulty options for a game like Elden Ring if it was, by the whim of the creator, the main director, and all that, Miyazaki. And in saying that, I believe that the best options for difficulty would be a sort of customizable difficulty. In that you basically select, stuff like damage levels, enemy aggression, and stuff like that, simple stuff. That would end up leading to tweak the experience of a player to, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that as I said before, that sounds like a fair compromise for this issue in general. And there's, if you don't mind, I would like to address mods in general, if you don't mind. I think there's a common misconception out there in YouTube regarding, I call them, lightheartedly, I call them Soulsies, those who like Elden Ring, those who like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and so on and so forth. I believe there's a misconception about what some of these easy mode mods do. So I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of how these mods operate. Some of them, not all of them. Because I'm sure there are mods out there that give you God mode right out the gate. As soon as you step foot on Limgrave, you're a one-hit machine, right? So I'm sure those mods exist. But generally speaking, there are plenty of different difficulty mods that adjust to kind of how you want to play. And all of these mods, the Soulsies must understand that there are three main facets to how these mods work. Number one, you must still adhere to the battle mechanics of the game, so the mod doesn't in any way kind of void the battle sequences at all. You still have to learn what to do. Number two, easy mode mods, or for the ones that I use more specifically, do not grant you God mode in any way. And number three, easy mode mods do not alter, again, I stress, do not alter the AI in any way. I've heard certain YouTubers out there uh, complain that some of these easy mode mods would completely alter the AI, and that's not true. Really, what these mods do is just give the player a cushion for survivability, and that's basically all that these mods do. They just fudge the numbers a bit, so you can dish it out and take it, basically.
Hmm.
Well, would you deny that there are mods out there that do the things that some people say, though?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't deny that at all. I'm sure there are God mode mods out there for sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely. But the ones that I used, one of them in particular was called the Crimson Amber easy mode mod. It's got a really long name, but just type in Crimson Amber on Nexus mods and you'll find it. That specific mod has about 4 or 5 different variations, and so you can kind of go through and pick which one seems the fairest to you. And there's one mod that's just extreme, but the other mods don't seem as extreme as like the fourth variation of it.
All right. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, no problem.
Just for the audience's sake, the footage that you're seeing of gameplay here is in fact pre-recorded. I captured this footage the other day, and what you're seeing right now is just me being bad at dealing with the AI invader at the round table hold. His name is
I want to
Mad
give you a
something.
pat for all.
I
give
just
you a pat right now.
What threw me off during this fight was the that one weapon art that he did with the flourish of the scythe. Would I have it removed? No, I don't think I would. I'm just saying that I was just bad. I didn't know how to counter it or anything, and that was entirely on my. That was entirely a consequence of my own fault, you could say.
Hmm. So speaking on that topic somewhat, Jack, in your video, you're very much against the get good response by Soulsies, as you called them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Could you talk
Yeah,
more on that?
absolutely. Not a problem at all. So Get Good, the context behind Get Good assumes that whoever plays Elden Ring, or any other Souls game for that matter, is capable of getting good. Meaning some gamers out there simply lack the skills necessary to become as good at Elden Ring as any of you folks may have. So basically, different people have different skill sets, and that's kind of where my argument kind of settles down. The foundation of my I would say anti get good stance would be skill sets, right? So everybody
Mhm.
has certain skill sets. Some people are going to be better at certain games than others. That seems rather fair. So when I hear get good, I understand that the original intent of get good uh, demonstrated an idea of practice makes perfect, right? If you keep practicing, you'll eventually get good enough at the game to then defeat it, and so on and so forth. So I understand that that was the original intent, but what has kind of happened in the Soulsies circle is that get good has kind of become like a one size fits all, catchphrase, without
Yeah.
understanding the nuances that not everyone's going to become as good at something as you are.
Do you think there is a point where even if someone can't do something, but it is like so baseline, like really easy for most people that it's almost irrelevant if one person can't do it? Like, what if someone's incredibly crap at a game, so much so that like a 4-year-old could beat them.
Right. So are you asking if using an easy mode at that point in time would benefit the guy or not benefit the guy?
Oh no, I was in yours. What you said about the good thing was that it implies that like the person is capable of doing it, but would it would you still hold the stance if like it was something incredibly easy but someone could still mess up with it? But it's like something incredibly baseline.
So if somebody was really terrible at the game, so much so that somebody
That it's like press A to complete this, and the person keeps pressing B, like they're that bad at the game.
Right, that would, I mean, if when you boil it down to that, I would assume that that person at that skill level, I mean, you would have to, that kind of sounds like an intelligence issue, more or less a mechanical issue. So I don't know if I would be comfortable not suggesting easy mode for that guy. That sounds more like an intelligence issue. So
Yeah.
You can't.
I don't know.
There's no fixing stupid.
Yeah, to some extent, that is absolutely true. Yes.
Because my main contention with I mostly agree with what you say on easy mode. Is that there is always going to be probably someone out there who can't complete a challenge no matter what, no matter how easy it is. There may still be someone out there who can't complete it. So I feel like the good statement could apply in most cases for most people. But if it is something like, oh, I've soft locked the game, it's like, oh, but you have a knife that has infinite durability, just kill the boss with that. It's like, but it does 1 damage. The person has 1,000 hit points. They can kill me in 3 hits. He's like, well, there's like people who live in their basements who can do this with their blindfolds on. So get good.
Right.
Like just because there's someone out there, just like in the reverse, just because there's someone out there who can do it amazingly better than almost anyone else on the planet doesn't mean the statement applies universally.
That is true, but in saying that, there are ways that even in the game itself that can make other things a lot easier for you. For instance, you could learn spellcasting and stuff in the game. Grab yourself the staff and figure out various incantations that can basically just one-shot most bosses, if not all of them. Is it cheap and cheese? Absolutely. Would I personally engage in it? Only if I get really, really frustrated with this one particular boss. Which I did end up cheesing using the flail. I only figured out that I could do it after some experimentation. You'll be seeing that later on. I'll let you know when that comes up in the video.
Alright.
But this is it. But it's at the stage where I switch to the greatsword to see if I can do anything to help. See if there's anything that could alleviate this guy. Give myself a advantage of some kind. In any case, there are lots of weapons and tricks that you could use to make the game way easier for yourself.
But then I guess I have the question of, is that like a reasonable thing to do? For instance, let's say if you're locked from a boss, like you can't beat a boss, and you're like, oh, well, you can just kill all these low-level enemies and get some XP. It's like, oh, but if, like, I do the calculations, I have to kill 4,500,000 of them, and then I can get enough power, and that's going to take me 72 hours. That's an exaggeration, but do you get the point?
Yeah, that is fair.
Like, what if it's, like, incredibly unreasonable for someone, or, I guess, I would say kind of unreasonable, yeah. For someone to do something like that to get to the point where they could easily overpower the boss.
And that would be up to that person, though. wouldn't it? I mean, if his experience, if he gets his entertainment value out of one-shotting everything, I mean, you may not see the interest in that, but let's say somebody does find that interesting, find that fun, then I mean, who are we to say that they can't play that way?
Oh no, I'm not saying that they can't play that way. I was saying that in this situation that the person wants to beat the boss
Oh, okay,
and
okay, okay.
continue play and like finish the game, but they essentially now have to do all of this grinding just so that they can get past this challenge.
Okay.
Hmm. I see what you're getting
I was
at.
just wondering your guys' thoughts on that.
Hmm. I mean, there are different types of enemies that you could go for that where you could like over time you could probably just like scaling yourself up to and escalate the types of enemies that you go for to hasten the process.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I guess.
yeah. Hmm. You as you were sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I don't like interrupting people.
No, 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 no,
I
no.
guess the
You
question.
go ahead.
I guess the question would be like, how long is too long? You know, how long should you try something until you say, okay, this isn't working. I'm gonna use whatever method to get through it. Like, how long is too reasonable, or how long is unreasonable?
Hmm.
You know. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, is that the question that you're posing? Like, how long is too long?
Yeah,
When do I throw in
like
the towel and say, screw it, I'm cheesing it?
yeah, or I guess it should be like how difficult should it be to get something cheesed? Like over leveling yourself to beat a boss.
Right. That you know that's an interesting concept because weren't we doing that back in the Final Fantasy days? Back in Final Fantasy 10, 11, 12, 13. Weren't we just grinding and grinding, grinding just so we can be powerful enough so the bosses or the next boss that we knew was coming up wasn't going to be backbreaking.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean
I
that kind
remember
of
doing
feels
that
like
a
the
lot with the. No, sorry.
I
yeah no
can't
I
say I have much experience with Final Fantasy. I haven't played anything outside of 15. And that didn't really hold my interest for any longer than I want to say 2 hours. I think.
hmm.
And to
I
some
was
extent,
gonna.
they may have been a little bit unfair, but I don't know.
I was
This
gonna
kind of
say. Oh, sorry.
no go ahead.
I was gonna say that I remember doing that in like some of the Pokemon games where I would level up my Pokemon to a very high level so then I could stomp out the my rival and the Elite Four.
Right, right. Perfectly logical strategy there. Which and
Yeah.
what you guys are putting forth kind of reminds me of a question or a sentiment that I've heard again in the Elden Ring crowd. The
Mm-hmm.
sentiment of why play the game if it's too hard for you. So that's a question I hear a lot, and from a lot of YouTubers, especially the Act Man. His channel, I've got nothing against that guy personally, so this isn't a personal attack on him at all. But
Oh,
in his video, in one of his videos titled "Easy Mode Would Ruin Elden Ring," so on and so forth, he mentions this. He made a statement somewhere to the effect of, "Why play the game if it's going to be too hard for you anyway?" And my issue with that sentiment is that the question presupposes that there is only one purpose behind Elden Ring, or to be more precise, there's only one aspect to Elden Ring that would lead to satisfaction. That kind of sounds silly to me because, me personally, I enjoyed the crap out of Elden Ring, but what I enjoyed the most was the explorational aspect of the game, not the combat. The combat took a back seat, and the explorational aspect of the game rode
mm-hmm.
shotgun. I was thoroughly enthralled by the beautiful vistas and environmentals. I was constantly asking myself, "What's over that ledge? What's over that bridge? What's in that waterfall?" So um, the combat to me was just a means to an end, and that end was to explore more of the map.
Hmm. I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I do believe there is a level of where it's like you've got to ask yourself, are you the type of person that would actually enjoy this style of game?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So
Like,
here's an example. Okay.
hold on, sorry. Uh, like, maybe something like Jedi Fallen Order is more your speed. Or maybe
Um,
Elden Ring is too easy for you and you'd prefer something even harder, like, say, the original Ninja Gaiden games.
mm-hmm. That with me personally, um, as I mentioned in my video, where I actually review Elden Ring,
Mhm.
I let everyone know that I actually do possess the skills to, for all intents and purposes, get good at the game. I just prefer a more relaxing experience. So I'm one of the few people that that am capable of being in the game and meeting the challenges. I simply prefer a more relaxing combat system that does, or at least difficulty options where the combat isn't as grueling as the original difficulty setting that Elden Ring is preset at. And like I said before, everyone can enjoy games differently. Everyone has their preferences, likes and dislikes. So, as I mentioned previously, uh, because I used and I don't know if I mentioned this yet. During my playthrough of Elden Ring, it wasn't until about the 32nd hour that I then decided to use an easy mode mod. Up until my 32nd hour, I was playing the game as is in all of its glory. And I became curious because there was a big fuss about using easy mode mod. So I used one, and the entertainment value that the easy mode gave me just skyrocketed. I ended up enjoying the game even more than I was before because I didn't have to focus on the combat so much and I could focus more on exploration and the lore and the aesthetics.
Hmm,
Mhm.
I
I
see.
could totally see that
Yeah, yeah. But, I mean,
as
to some extent,
the main draw.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
The main
do.
draw of a game can be different for everyone.
Hmm.
But
Right.
going into Elden Ring, were you expect what were you like sold on with Elden Ring? Just for clarification, because
I. Mhm.
well, I haven't played it. I have heard things about its difficulty
I
before
was
anything.
I was I was more sold on the atmosphere and the aesthetics more than anything
Mhm.
else. I knew because I did my research, and again, my best friend had played the game, and he knows about the difficulty, and I already knew about it, because I know about the Souls franchise, as it were. So I knew what to expect. I'm this even though I never played an Elden Ring type game before, I knew what to expect. So it wasn't a surprise to me how difficult it was. I knew what to expect. Um, but still, what sold me on the game was the aesthetic overall, the dark fantasy RPG elements. I'm an R.A. Salvatore fan. I've read the Drizzt Do'Urden trilogy a couple times over. So that kind of dark fantasy subject interests me. So I bought the game for that specific reason, and I knew that mods did already exist to kind of knock the game down a few notches if I somehow wasn't able to conquer the game. But I was, and that wasn't a big deal. But I used the easy mode mods anyway, just for curiosity and experience sake.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I mean, it's all well and good when it's like you're just customizing the game to your liking because it is your property. You do what you will with your property.
Right, right. And there's a comparison that I can make too, if you guys don't mind. There's an
So
example for all the people at home listening. Um, has anyone ever seen the documentary titled "The Gods Must Be Crazy"?
I have not.
It,
I don't think I've heard of
um,
that.
it's well, in very short order here. It involves an African tribe that somehow came into possession of a Coca-Cola bottle. And the reason I bring up that documentary is because everyone has their own view regarding their own opinions on what satisfaction or value they get out of a thing, or in this case, a video game. So, what do I mean when I say that? Going back to the documentary, this African tribe got a hold of a Coke bottle, and the entire tribe started using that Coke bottle in entirely strange and unusual ways. Not the way that the bottle was originally intended to be used, right? To fill up soda, you drink the soda, right? So the tribesmen were using it in a completely different way. Eventually, there was infighting because everyone was fighting over using this bottle. So the tribe leader took the bottle and threw it off a cliff, right? So end of story there. So the reason why I use that documentary is to illustrate that even though like Miyazaki may have a vision for his game and how the game should be used, there are going to be people that play it and figure certain things out and create mods for it, and they'll play it in the way that they would like to play the game. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with modding at all.
Right. I reckon modding is arguably more health. It is better to help sustain a good player environment. It increases player retention and maintains hold that there are gonna be more people enjoying the game on a purely numerical level.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Would you? I'm sorry. You go on ahead.
You go. You go.
I was going to ask. Again, this is another statement I've heard from other YouTubers, so I'll kind of throw it in your court, and then you can bounce it back to me later if you want. The sentiment that without difficulty, Elden Ring isn't Elden Ring. How do you guys feel about that sentiment?
Well,
Removing the difficulty somehow completely removes the whole point of the game.
I would say I was actually gonna touch on this earlier, but I can touch on it now.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say that part of the difficulty is like is part of the narrative of the game. In a literal sense, like you're living through an absolute trial, to test your mettle to see whether you're worthy of becoming the Elden Lord or whatever, you know?
Right. Right.
And of what little I know of... Oh. Were you saying something?
No, I was passing it on all along to you. It's all you, Hero.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of what I know, very little of the like Souls lore is that the game's difficulty is built into like what the games are about, and that the only way to truly lose the game is to stop playing it. Like that is the actual fail state in universe.
Yeah.
So I guess by definition.
Yeah. That is canonically speaking.
Difficulty.
Sorry, you go ahead.
But I wouldn't say necessarily that is a bad thing for just a player who wants to do something specific with the game. So I would agree definitionally wise, but not really in practicality.
But yeah, I was about to say that the fail state of the Souls games, the original 3, is to quit, and in that lose your purpose and become hollowed.
Is
that it?
But that's just like my take on the whole matter.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the other thing that should be mentioned is that someone playing Elden Ring on easy mode may receive just as much satisfaction from the game as you get playing the same game on its original difficulty. And also, there's something else that actually could be said about that too. I think it's entirely possible, or at least plausible, that there are people out there that their skill set is so below yours that easy mode may actually feel like hard mode to them. So I think that's something else that should be taken into consideration involving this entire discussion.
I mean, there are some
Involving
people that just have never developed the sort of game sense that we have because they've never been properly exposed to or even have a proper chance to play games in their youth.
Mm.
Like my mother.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Like your mom?
It's both mother. It's both your mum joke, and also actually true.
Yeah. I would say that there are some people that like an easy mode is still hard mode for them.
Right.
And
Right.
I definitely say that is true. And that satisfaction can come. People's satisfaction is a very subjective thing. People can get satisfied by anything.
Right. Exactly. It is. Yeah. Exactly. Subjectively. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's a subjective opinion, not objective fact. That's absolutely right. Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. Well put. And there's something. Actually, there's one more thing. If you don't mind me kind of going off here, I'd like to share my screen and show you guys something. If you guys don't mind. Are you guys okay with that?
Is it some sort of
All right,
video
so let me-
thing?
So sharing the screen
No,
might mess up
it's just a
the
picture.
might mess up the overlay. So
Okay, then I'll just here.
could you send a screenshot?
I will actually do that right now. 2 seconds, and then there you go. There you go. There's a screenshot. So if you guys want to post that, I wanted to use this as one of the examples for why I love difficulty options in general. So
What's
whenever
this
you get it
from?
on the screen,
Sorry?
this is from Resident Evil 3 Remake. So what you're seeing is me completing Resident Evil 3 in every single difficulty setting with S rank on all of them. So I don't show this to brag. I show this to illustrate this is why I love difficulty options. Because I'm able to start a game on the easiest setting, which is assisted, and kind of learn the game, learn what the game wants from me, memorize where zombies spawn, so on and so forth. Memorize where where items are.
You've been the entire game on all difficulty options in S rank.
Right. Yes.
That is honestly incredible. That's like that's basically fucking speedrunning, my dude.
I don't think I'm that good.
Well,
by no stretch of the imagination.
it's borderline. It's borderline.
Well, then hooray for me, I guess, bully for me. But anyway, showcasing this was to illustrate that I'm able to, like a stepping stone, kind of continually improve my skills to such a point where I can keep climbing that success ladder here, and thus I can reap the rewards by having a screenshot showcasing that I did indeed go through Resident Evil 3 Remake with, every difficulty. So this is why I love difficulty settings. And with a game like Elden Ring would only improve with adding difficulty options, because then people like me would be able to really hone our skills by allowing us to start off a little easy, hold our hand a little bit, go through the game, memorize it, understand what the game truly wants from you, and then go to the next difficulty setting and do the exact same thing. And plus, that boosts someone's confidence.
And it would be kind of interesting to have the one that's like, this is the game this is the way that the game is meant to be played, the ideal. And then they have a difficulty that goes even further and is basically like, this is not recommended for casual players.
Hello.
Right.
Niall.
Hey,
you're
Niall.
there.
Niles, how's it going, my man?
Hello. Sorry about that. Internet isn't always the most reliable when I'm at right now.
No worries, man.
Nothing is my.
So now,
what
could
are
you
you-
use the PFP I sent you?
Yeah. So
Could you
what?
use
What?
the profile picture I sent you?
From the audience perspective, you are sideways.
Yeah, that is what. I mean, it's the same as mine, so I think it works. Huh?
From
Did you
the
turn yours
talking more.
sideways?
Huh? Oh, I get what you're saying. Sorry,
yeah, there you go.
I have up and use
Take the time
downloading
you need.
this. Yeah, sorry.
No worries, man.
So, what are we talking about?
Difficulty
Well,
options in video games, particularly
that
Elden Ring.
subject.
Um,
That subject.
so
Go on.
I think the point you brought up is something that we should probably really talk about, because it's a really good point that you brought up. The difficulty sliders is used as a stepping stone is something I think a lot of people in games have experience with.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
you know, playing through a game on normal, and then it's like, oh, I really like this game. I want to play it again, but I want more challenge,
Right. Exactly.
or I want to
There
just
is
chill
something.
and play the game. So I'll turn it on easy and start a new playthrough. And like I did that with God of War. I started on normal because it was like my first time with the series, and now I have like 2 save files beating the game on the God of War difficulty, the hardest difficulty in the game, and I found
Excellent.
it very rewarding. And I don't think I'd be as
God
interested into the game if I
damn.
was jumping in with just the hardest difficulty from the start.
Right. Right. Incrementally improving your skills and allowing yourself to grow is much better than just throwing you in the fire and saying deal with it. Yeah, I completely agree.
I mean, there is at some level like adapt or die sort of situations, and
Sure.
that you can. There have been people who have been able to sort of grow and master what's there.
Nowadays, most often I end up finding myself starting games is hard difficulty.
Hmm.
And quickly. That might just be because I'm more used to a wider variety of games.
Yeah.
I mean, when on
Understood.
my first playthrough of Halo Infinite, I decided to try it. I decided to play through on heroic.
Mm-hmm. The canon option you said, right?
Yes, and it honestly felt like the perfect balance. It was a lot It was a lot more challenging in some areas than I would have expected, but it felt pretty good all around.
Mm-hmm.
From a gameplay perspective, of course. I do have my issues with the game, but
So,
I believe that would be for another time.
yeah. So I think we've covered like difficulty sliders.
I don't think it's necessary a difficulty slider though. While it can be useful for getting a person into a game, it can also be a trade-off because you have to balance the game for multiple difficulties, something which isn't always quite as
Well,
That
isn't
is
always
absolutely
easy.
true.
that is true, yeah.
But
And
in saying that, ideally you would have one specific difficulty that is like the ideal way for the player to engage with the game, and different difficulties for differing levels of skill.
Yeah, but I think
no.
Niall's saying is that that's not
There will
necessary.
always be modders too. Modders will always exist as well. So even if an easy setting isn't easy enough for you, there's always going to be a modder out there ready and willing to fudge the numbers for you somehow.
Oh, absolutely.
Which also kind of brings me to another point, if you guys don't mind. Like I said, I came prepared, man.
All right.
So the old, if you remember, oh man, I forgot to save the tweet. I was going to showcase this tweet, but I don't know if you guys remember the tweet where somebody said difficulty options do not affect you one iota. Do you guys remember that tweet?
I
Yeah,
have
that's
never seen this
fake.
tweet. That
No,
sounds very
I
dumb.
haven't.
I
Could
have
you
not seen that tweet, but I do not agree already.
could you
Okay, well-
elaborate for me?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I was going to get into that. So, again, as you all know, I've played Elden Ring with Easy Mode mod, and I did so offline, to be ultra specific. I did so offline. That's very important. So, did my playthrough of Elden Ring, in any real, tangible way, interfere with anybody else's playthrough?
It couldn't have. It couldn't
No,
possibly have.
it only interfered with your
Well, no.
playthrough.
Right. So it was, it was offline. So excellent. So the reason why I agree with the sentiment that difficulty options do not affect you, and when I say you, I mean the other gamers out there who would be upset by you playing on an easier difficulty or playing the game with an easy mode mod. So I have an example that I can use that helps illustrate.
Actually, yes, but as in me, but you specifically, like it obviously affected your playthrough.
Right, it affects my right. It alters my playthrough to a certain degree, but it doesn't affect you in any way. Like my experience offline does not interfere or affect your experience somewhere out there in the ether,
Well,
right?
no, I am
Right.
perfectly okay with modding or hacking or making a game easier if it's if it's a single player game.
Hmm.
Right,
however
exactly.
much-
I'm
Eat however much you want.
In the case of something like a multiplayer game,
As long as
I'd
that's
only
what
see
you
the only acceptable mods that I could see coming out of it would be cosmetic.
right, because that doesn't affect the gameplay at all. So when I read that tweet, I realized that, and I forgot about that tweet, guys. I'm sorry. I was going to take a picture of it and show you guys, but I created an example that helps illustrate why the argument difficulty doesn't affect anyone else. The reason why that's such a profound logical argument is for this reason. Imagine if I were to rent a building. There's quite a few rooms in the building, and I hire a bunch of gamers and I place them in each of the rooms. I have PCs waiting and willing for them. I've got Elden Ring already installed. I remind all the gamers that if you plan on modding the game, you're only allowed to do it offline. In this scenario, I could prove that none of the players playing with easy mode mods offline affected any of the other players sitting right next to them in the next room. Right? So if you're playing offline, you are by definition not interacting with other people. Therefore, it is impossible for my experience offline to interfere with anybody else's experience online. That is a profound argument, and once I saw that, that's really what kind of brought me a little bit more over towards the difficulty options worldview as opposed to the non-difficulty option view.
I'd say that I personally would just play the game as it is, vanilla, at least for
Yeah,
like the
you-
first few playthroughs.
if that is how you want to play, yes, but I do see but the thing is the reason why in not just Elden Ring but in a lot of games the devs don't add multiple difficulty options is because they were balancing the game for a single one. They wanted to be focused on the specific game. They just want to make the default really good,
Hmm.
essentially.
Yeah,
And
the-
so
you were
I
sorry.
don't know who wants to go.
As you were sorry.
Okay, I'll go then. So in that regard, we kind of covered that a little bit earlier, but to re-emphasize, yes, From Software does balance the games, and they have it like Miyazaki has a certain idea of what he wants out of the game, but then again, it's still since the game is offline, there's no real effect happening between you and somebody else if it's offline. So I say, plus again, that kind of goes back to my original argument regarding
Not
skill
you and
sets.
somebody else online, but when designing a game with multiple difficulties, it does affect the developers. They have to figure out ways of balancing the game for multiple difficulties.
Right, and I'm sure that requires some level of effort.
Yeah.
But then again, modders do it. So I mean, I know it is possible.
Yeah. Just look at the legendary difficulty of Halo 2. It is a fucking disaster.
Yep, it's hard. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, jackal snipers
A meme
everywhere.
unto themselves. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, like I said, what Nil brought up goes straight back to my original argument about skill sets. How everyone has a particular skill set, they have a threshold of what they're capable of doing and what they're not capable of doing. So having difficulty options would benefit that person.
Well, yes, although because depending on certain skill sets, it might not matter the difficulty as much as. Wait. Never mind. Continue. Hello?
We're
Yeah,
here.
we can hear you.
Hello? Was my internet down for a second?
No, we
Can you
can
hear
hear you. Yeah.
I still hear you.
Yeah, you're fine.
So what I was saying, I don't remember. All right, go on.
No.
No
Right.
worries, man.
So it appears that everybody's kind of on the same page relatively. That to one slight degree or one slight
Yeah.
deviation or the other, everyone kind of
Mhm.
seems to be on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
More or less, yeah.
I personally don't really care what someone does with their own version of the game,
Right.
because like
Right.
it doesn't affect me. It's not like they're going out
Exactly.
into multiplayer to and invading other people with these mods enabled. At least I hope not.
Right.
Good God.
Well, I personally
That
go
would-
out attacking people with my big titty mods, yeah.
That's wow. I'm sure there's a law somewhere against that, but hey, you do you.
I'm pretty sure there's a
is
handful of people that have been able to figure out how to be bosses. Oh, sorry, Niall.
No, you first.
No, you go first. I'll say my thing after.
Okay. The question is whether or not the developers should be made to add multiple difficulty options when they feel more comfortable making a game balancing for one specific difficulty.
Right. That's an excellent question. That is an excellent
Which
question.
would-
And we did
Which
touch on this
especially
earlier in the
some
discussion near the beginning of the
Yes.
stream. We basically said something along the lines of, whatever the director says is basically ideally what is going to be in the final product.
Yeah.
It's up to Miyazaki or whoever's directing it. It's their prerogative. If that's the vision that they have for the game, then that's what shall happen. You know, I'm all for somebody. Just like the old adage states, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right? So I would
Yeah.
prefer that Miyazaki stick to his guns and say, no difficulty sliders, guys. Sorry, this game's going to be the way that's going to be. Everyone else is just going to have to deal with it. And that's fine because we all know there's going to be modders out there ready and willing to help us out anyway. So,
Absolutely.
it really, everyone's happy. Everyone's happy.
If you
Yeah, I
want to
think
mod the game and add whatever you want into it, I'm all for it. Do what you gotta do. Do what you want.
As long as it's not affecting anybody else directly,
Exactly.
then
Absolutely.
yeah, that's fine.
Completely
You can
agreed.
do whatever you want you can do whatever you want as long as it's not removing somebody else's ability to do what they want.
Exactly. This is an Overwatch we're talking about. Like, I'm not downloading aim hacks or something. Then yeah, I would be absolutely in moral peril there because then I would be disturbing other people's experience. Absolutely.
I mean, like, and
Yeah,
sooner or later, I do intend to like install like a Berserk armor mod or something for the game, because
I myself downloaded a mod that made Hollow Knight easier after I finished most of a normal playthrough.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I just want to have a little fun with the game. And
Hmm.
also try and do the freaking god home in that game. That game has an area that's essentially post the main game, and it was so hard I just kind of gave up and accepted my defeat. And then I went on it when I downloaded that mode that made the game easier, and I beat it, and it still took me like 38 tries to do it.
God damn.
Right. This
That's
kind of reminds me of
really
something else.
so
The-
difficult.
What
On
you said,
easy
Nils,
mode, it's impossible. Continue. Sorry.
No. Nil, what you said sparked another memory in my head. Again, as I mentioned, I'm 41. I'm an older dude, so I've done a whole lot of gaming. I've been gaming it up since the mid '80s. So what you said just reminded me of something. Do you guys remember or have you ever heard of Game Genie?
I do know of Game Genie. That's an older thing. The reason I know of it
Yes.
is because
I
of
haven't heard of it.
the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Right, Angry Video, exactly. Love that guy.
He brings up a lot of in his videos. He brings up a lot of really old, obscure stuff from the heyday of gaming.
From my generation. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with Game Genie, so alongside modding, in that same vein, I would say that modding can also increase the value in how somebody enjoys a game, any game for that matter, including something like Elden Ring. And I'll give a quick example of that, a memory that just hit me. When I beat Mario 3, I'm talking for Nintendo, way back
The
when.
original NES.
The original Nintendo, right. As I was playing through the game, I realized, oh, hey, I can get this new thing called Game Genie. I can put in cheat codes, and I can, do a whole bunch of stupid, goofy stuff. So I did.
You can have new forms of fun with the game.
Right, exactly. Now, here's one of the benefits to the Game Genie. I was able to type in a code that allowed me to have like an infinite P-wing. So I was able to fly indefinitely, right? I flew in one of these levels. I don't remember which one it was. This many years ago. I flew up and I discovered that there was a whole new area or even a warp pipe way up at the top of the screen that I had no idea was even there. And I would have never known about it had it not been for the Game Genie. So not been for me, quote unquote, cheating. So I think
there's all kinds of
there's
content you
added
can discover
value.
using
Not really
these
quote,
tools
unquote,
afforded to you
You are
by.
cheating by definition. Oh, sorry.
No worries, man. You go ahead. I gotta have lunch. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Have a nice lunch.
Thanks.
What? Yeah, sorry. I was saying by definition, it's not really quote unquote cheating. It is just cheating. It's just cheating that's morally okay.
Because it's not affecting anybody else, right? And
Yeah.
so and that added value. So I think modding Elden Ring for certain people just adds value, and that value obviously is going to be different
From
from
Bethesda games, I'm not sure they would be played at all if it wasn't for mods.
That's an interesting input. I'm so glad you said that, Nil. What have you guys seen the numbers for how many times the easy mode was downloaded on Nexus mods?
I have not.
Last time I checked, the original easy mode mod, not the one that I used, not the Crimson Amber one, was like somewhere in the area of 50,000 downloads.
Damn.
So now let's be fair. Let's be ultra conservative and let's just hack half that off the table. Let's just slice that guy in half. Why? Well, maybe somebody downloaded the mod more than once, right? So duplicate downloads. Maybe it was a YouTuber that already played Elden Ring, beat it, and just wanted to use an easy mode to see what it does, right? So let's remove some of those downloads. So if there's 25,000 downloads, that's still a significant amount of downloads for one single variation of an easy mode mod. So in my mind, that's more than enough reason. That should showcase to Miyazaki that I think the numbers are there that would hopefully convince him that adding difficulty sliders would be a good idea in potentially profiting. That would be financially lucrative for him.
That profiting, yeah, possibly. Although good idea. That is, again, I harken back to that is up to the developers if they decide that they find it
Absolutely.
better to simply design the game around one difficulty and go, all right, this is how the game is. If you don't like
Sure.
this, mod it. Or to go, these are multiple ways you can play the game. Choose the one you decide ahead. Choose the one you think will
Right.
be better for you. And yet, I think it's perfectly fine to still go even after seeing that multiple people are interested in an easy mode to just go, no, I think it's better for us to just design it around one difficulty.
Right. Right. Yeah. No. There's no complaints there at all. It's totally the developer's prerogative. Absolutely. I was just showcasing some ideas, some convincing arguments that if they were ever laid at Miyazaki's feet, that maybe he would kind of review the arguments and say, okay, well, these guys have some valid points. Maybe I will do it. But again, if he doesn't, that I'm totally fine with that. It's his game. It's his
This
baby.
I can 100% agree with what you're saying.
Right.
Oh,
Well, I think we're all just one happy family over here.
Yeah.
seems like it.
Uh,
What about games that actually, well, actually, it's not that relevant. I'm just thinking about certain games that difficulty isn't really have. They do, but don't. Well, have you ever played on Starve? It's not really that relevant here, but
mm,
have you? Or
I haven't played Starve.
no?
No. Or Don't
I have
Starve.
not either.
Yeah.
Well, in that game, there isn't really a difficulty section, but there is, which is more that you can change how many certain elements of the games will show up. For example, you can change how many trees there are. You can change how often hostile monsters spawn. You can change how often. You can basically change any minor element of
Hmm.
the game, quite details, and that's not even counting the mods.
Well,
And
that was
that has
awfully
a
nice.
big effect on the game's difficulty, but there isn't a specific difficulty slider per se.
Wow. Well, that man, that's pretty clever and fairly nice of a developer to go to that extent. Wow. But I think I may have to go, guys. I don't want to because you guys have been a lot of fun. But as I've said, I am more than happy to jump in here, do a part 2 with you guys on
All
another
right.
day. If you guys will have me, I'm more than happy to do it.
All right.
Hopefully, Toxic will be there too.
Yeah. Once
Yeah,
he
I
gets
would
his
love to talk to
phone
that guy.
fixed.
Absolutely.
Well, goodbye. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks a lot,
RG.
guys. This has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Welcome. All right.
Take it easy, guys.
You too. Was that a rooster? No. What was that on your end? Oh. Oh, no, I left. Oh. Oh, well. Well, let's see if anyone's in the chat. Oh, hey, Fun Time Drawings. Uh, this is awkward. Hmm. Wondering when the fuck Soul will be back.
Hi everybody, I'm back. What the? Hold on. Sorry everybody, we gotta cut this short.